Today is the second day of the annual Investing in Africa Mining Indaba that ends on Thursday. Later this morning, South Africa's Mining Minister, Ngoako Ramathlodi, will give the official opening and address. Now, let's cross over to our reporter, Nompumelelo Siziba. She's been following this. She's out in Cape Town, and we'll find out what the Indaba, or how the Indaba is going, I should say. Nompu, good to have you on the program again. Give us a bit of a recap as to what came out yesterday of the Indaba.
Thanks very much, Leanne. Yes, well, yesterday was a day when stakeholders were looking at the mining sector, specifically the commodities, how they've been performing in the past and what the expectations are going forward. Obviously, there are mixed views about what's going to happen. Are we going to see commodity prices starting to rise this year or more over the medium term? So those were the sorts of debates that were going on yesterday. And then today we're going to have a situation where there's further, deeper looking at some of the issues. So, for example, today, Anglo-American is going to be looking at sustainable mining over the long term. Anglo Gold Ashanti will also be giving a presentation around long-term sustainable mining in the gold sector. We also have the African Mining Forum, African Ministers Forum on mining. That's where people are able to engage with African ministers across the continent on mining in the various countries. And there's also going to be a talk on unlocking the shared potential in the mining sector. And one of the controversies that keeps on surfacing here at the Mining Indaba is the fact that it looks as though communities are locked out of this Indaba because it's quite an expensive fee to access the Indaba, and yet they're such a crucial part of the whole discussion. How do you talk about unlocking shared value when there isn't a critical partner here? But that's another debate for another day. So these are some of the things that are going to be looked at.
No doubt, Nompu. I think hitting on a very important subject is bringing the right people into this, and as you say, communities are part of that grouping. Looking at today, and we know that our mining minister is going to officially address the Indaba. What are the expectations? What are we thinking he'll address? Because I think it's quite a difficult situation for him. He has to call it as it is and speak in real terms, but at the same time attract investors into the mining sector here in South Africa. Big responsibility on his shoulders.
Leanne, you're absolutely right. It's going to be very interesting to hear what he has to say. I think it's going to be very difficult for him indeed. You know, there's evidence all around us, what with load shedding happening, and obviously we've got a minerals bill that still needs attention, that needs to create certainty in the sector. So it's going to be interesting to hear what he says, but all I do know is that chief executives were saying yesterday they're hoping that when he speaks today, he's going to provide regulatory certainty. It will be a tricky task for him, given that we do have a significant piece of legislation still outstanding, but he'll need to speak to that. He'll need to speak to the electricity issue, and, you know, just give a sense that South Africa is open for business. But when you look at stuff on the ground, it does look very difficult vis-a-vis the potential of investment in other African countries, which investors seem to suggest have less of a regulatory burden. So, yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of anticipation. Yesterday, you know, there were lots of people here, but apparently in the hall, the main auditorium where the minister is going to speak, if you don't get your front seat as quickly as possible, it gets very thick, very fast, and it's very difficult to get in. You end up standing to listen to what the minister has to say. We're hoping that we get to have a one-on-one with the minister and put the important questions to him a bit later on. So cross your fingers for us. That's it, Leanne.
So we do hope for that, because it'll be an interesting one. Just finally, before I let you go, I know there were great expectations on the former UK Prime Minister Tony Blair going to be speaking, and this was yesterday. Obviously a bit of a mix-up on the agenda, I think. I think a lot of people were disappointed about that. Today, perhaps, is that what's on the agenda for today?
Yes. Yes, Leanne, the former Prime Minister of the UK, Tony Blair, is speaking today. We understand he's speaking around 12:30, and it's quite interesting. There are quite a lot of restrictions. In the main auditorium where some of these keynote speakers are speaking, the media can go in and capture everything, but we've been given strict instructions as media that we can't capture his speech. We'll be provided with a 3-minute roll of his speech later on afterwards. So a lot of restrictions. I don't know if that has anything to do with the fact that he was the former Prime Minister of the UK and maybe there's some security issues around there. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how we're able to cover his speech given the fact that we can't actually reflect it at the time. So he's speaking, yes.
All right. Thank you very, very much for being there for us covering it, and we do hope that we get that interview with the mining minister here in South Africa. Nompumelelo Siziba from our economics desk, thank you very much for talking to us here on the programme.